Dervyites, welcome to our chat about episode 9 of season 3 of Outlander, The Doldrums. I'm here with Amanda Spears. Once again, we are the Outlander team at Gold Derby. Amanda, first thoughts about episode 309.
We got new credits. So clearly we're moving locations and that's fun. So we knew something special was happening in this episode. And that was nice. They didn't do anything different when Claire was in America, although I don't really know what they could have done. But
yeah,
it was really fun to hear the change to the music. And I always thought it's nice to see things mixed up a little bit, but still kind of the same.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like when the credits started rolling and I heard the bongo drums, my wife grabbed me by the arm and she was so excited. She was like, oh. And she was just transfixed by it. She's like the real Outlander fan. She's like crazy Outlander fan in a good way. And so it got me all excited as well. I was like, oh yes. Oh, and then we saw the glimpses of the people in wherever they are going, Jamaica, I assume, dancing and whatever. And it was a nice touch. I like how they do that. It kind of gives you a little taste for what's to come. I can't remember what they did when they went to Paris. I'm sure they did something.
They were in French.
Yes, of course. Good memory. And so that kind of touch, and they did that little change for the print shop episode as well. I really love it when TV shows do that. It's like a little nod to the fans, like for the ones paying attention. So yeah, good call on the credits. I forgot to read out Stars' excellent summary of what the episode was all about, so let me quickly do that. Claire and Jamie leave Scotland, sailing to the West Indies on an urgent quest. But when the superstitious crew looks for someone to blame after a string of bad luck, rescue comes from an unlikely source. Now, the episode was written by Shannon Goss and was directed by David Moore. So where do we begin on this? Like, I've got a bit to talk about with the Claire character generally, but the first note I wrote after the credit stuff was the dinner with the ship's captain arguing about touching a piece of iron, the superstition. Claire does not back down, ever. And all the while, Jamie is throwing his guts up, on the other side of the ship. And she's at the table just kind of standing her ground because she is, she's so opinionated and she knows what she's talking about. She's educated and all that stuff. What did you think about that?
Well, I think especially in that century, if you're going to be traveling by boat, there's always going to be some danger involved. So I've read Moby Dick. I mean, they're just superstitious people. They're putting their lives at danger. So as much as I love seeing her stand her ground, I think she might have been able to understand where they're coming from a little bit.
Yeah.
It is a very dangerous profession. That was fun. There was some slight racism throughout the episode.
Just a tad.
Just a touch of racism every now and then.
Are we talking at all about anything to do with Mr. Wu? What's his deal? It's nice to see an Asian character, by the way, just on TV generally. You don't get to see that very often, which is ridiculous. But even on this show, there probably wouldn't be a lot of scope to see Asian people. And yet, so having Mr. Wu on there is cool. But I don't really know what his deal is. And I was like, oh, so what's the deal with Mr. Wu? What's going on there? What do you think about him?
I think he's an interesting addition. We haven't really learned a lot about him, but he seems to be on Jamie's side. And I like him more than the evil stepmother routine that they're kind of forcing Claire in. That's a storyline I didn't really...
Yeah, I didn't take that either.
They'll be friends at the end, but it's just one of those things where we've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
I was really hoping we just left Larry and her children.
Yeah. I never had to see them again, but
yeah,
it looks like they're going to stick around for a bit. This is what I wanted to talk about with Claire, especially. It seems like Claire is having a harder time adjusting to this century again. So she's been there before, but now that she's come back, she's more educated, she's seen more, she's older, she's more set in her ways, and I really like that. I really, really like that the show's producers, and obviously Diana Gabaldon, who wrote the novel, are really letting us kind of see that side of Claire. That she's struggling a little with these people who have ridiculous views about things because they don't know any better. And she's not as as innocent and rose-colored glasses wearing as she was when she was first there. And that's a nice nuance for the Claire character, and Katrina Balfe's really doing that beautifully. What do you think about that aspect of her character?
I think it's something she should have thought about before she touched those stones again.
Yeah.
That she was going to be giving up a lot of the freedoms that she had in the 60s. But I do love the Claire character in general. I just kept thinking the whole episode, she brought penicillin or some kind of antibiotic with her in her doctor's bag. Why didn't she bring like a vaccine or something to, like, you know, take care of Jamie or something, just to, you know,
Right.
make sure he doesn't get sick? Because I just kept thinking about that when that she got on that boat. Why didn't she, you know, have something to give him already?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Why not? That's a very good point. But she would have changed history, I suppose, or someone might have gotten their hands on it, or who knows? Like,
Well, she might not have changed history if she's like, just roll over and let me make sure you're vaccinated from this and everything's fine. Because you got to get those shots in the butt, I think, at a certain age. So,
well, that's perfect
Yeah.
for Outlander. Any chance we get to show Sam Heughan's butt would probably be very welcomed by the fans.
it would have made the top 5 performances of the episode. in the season.
We're joking, everybody. Everybody, calm down. So, speaking of Jamie and sticking needles in him, we saw him with the acupuncture. Obviously, that was like a bit of comic relief, having them all sticking out of his face. I don't really have much more to say about that particular part of the episode, but it was kind of amusing.
Well, we know Jamie is prone to seasickness, so Sam, not to any of his fault, didn't have a lot to do this episode because of it. It's just the nature of how somebody who's seasick would be. They're not going to be an active player in what's going on.
Yeah, that's true. I think the highlight of the episode, to be honest, really was when Jamie and Claire had their Titanic moment on the bow of the ship, looking up at the stars, and Claire reminiscing and thinking about Brianna. It was nice to kind of have her acknowledge that she has left her daughter behind, or in forward. I don't even know how you would say it, but we don't really get to talk about them much, Roger and Brianna and everybody else she's left back in the 60s or whatever. And if we didn't hear about them very often, it would be really unrealistic, because I tell you what, if I went back in time and left my family here, I'd be thinking about them a lot. So yeah, that was really cool. And having Jamie kind of listen to how she was talking about and reminiscing about Brianna, I think was really touching. And, you know, it was a beautifully set up shot on the bow of the ship. And I really liked that. What did you think of that scene?
I did. I really loved it. It was beautiful. The ship was so well made for a prop that I'm assuming is only going to be in 1 or 2 episodes. It was really gorgeous. And I know they're headed to Jamaica. And I know it's going to be really tempting to submit for costume or production design an episode from those clothes from Jamaica, since we've seen like a sneak preview has been all over the internet. But they're going to have to do something really special if they're going to win. I think they can get nominated, but I think having 2 really contrasting centuries in there is the better way to go. I really think episode 5 is still the episode to submit, because you get the 60s and you get the 18th century.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see. I don't know.
Not that they listen to us. If they did.
I don't care about Lisa. I'm hoping the Hollywood Foreign Press is still taking a notice of the show. Outlander is obviously in the running in the drama categories, and I think that I'm starting to warm up to the idea that Katrina Balfe will go 3 for 3 in her nomination count, because the drama actress category is a little open there, and it looks like Elizabeth Moss is the frontrunner according to Gold Derby, but I'm thinking Katrina Balfe will probably pull that nomination out, and then that might be it for Outlander. I think it's going to be a complete and utter challenge for Outlander to do any better, because the drama categories are ridiculously stacked this year at the Golden Globes.
Yeah, it is, but I think there's enough wiggle room in drama actress that they might be able to get her back in, and she's always been a standout on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shame
Tobias
that
hasn't enough. He's not in enough
no,
episodes.
I don't think
to
so.
qualify.
It's a shame that Sam Heughan has never been able to crack the nominations at the Golden Globes, because he's definitely deserving. But the drama actor categories are very competitive, and
He's too handsome.
yeah,
You're too handsome for the Golden Globes. You know you're handsome.
Yeah, I mean, forget the Emmys. They love to slap the stud, as Tom O'Neill says often. Sam Heughan, I think you're just going to have to make do with the fact that you are, ridiculously good looking and lusted after by billions of people, and and not have to worry about. I feel really bad for you. I feel really bad for you, mate. Anyway, final thoughts on the Doldrums before we say goodbye until next week.
We get to see Claire do her medical thing again, so that'll be interesting to see on a ship. But I always love watching her try to figure everything out, so it'll be cool, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll be in Jamaica by the end of the episode. I hope we're not on the ship again.
I hope so. I hope so. Otherwise, it's just going to probably drag out too much. I really want to see them hit the West Indies ASAP. I'm so looking forward to a completely different, a change of scenery and new characters. I'm feeling like I'm going to be more excited about the show like I was when they hit Paris. So we'll see. All right, thank you. And everybody, make sure you stay tuned to Gold Derby, because that Outlander is one of our favorite shows, and we talk about it all the time. And
love it.
We've got Golden Globes coming up, and we're hoping to see Outlander there. That's why we always talk about it. And stay tuned. We've got more to come next week for episode 310. Thanks, Amanda. See you later.